we are live on Facebook. Hello, Jandre. Hello, everyone who's watching, who's going to join soon. We are talking about all things business. Hello, Jandre. Lovely to have you here today. How are you?
Magriet, I'm well. Thank you for having me. It's nice to be back and doing our lives. I think we've been slacking for the last few months.
Yes, but like all good things, here we are back. Guys, if you're watching, just go over to the comments and say hi. Tell us where you're watching from. We were actually in Sweden for 10 days, which was amazing. So we are back and very excited for everything. So, what's up on your side?
Yeah, running around, enjoying the year. We're already moving into the second half of the year, if you can believe it. It's crazy to think. Yeah, it's hectic. And I think a lot of people need to reassess if they're heading in the direction that they want to. I think we need to take stock of where we started in January and whether we're heading in the right direction or not. I think you can easily become ignorant to, where you are in the year and where you are in alignment with your goals. So it's an important time to just take stock and see if you're heading in the right direction. So it's always an exciting time. And other than that, I think, on our side, things are going well. No complaints. Growing, grateful. Looking for those opportunities on the business front. On V8 Capital side, we've got 4 companies in our portfolio now, and grateful for what's happening. How are you doing? Tell me a little bit about you. How you've been since the last time we've chatted.
Good, very well. It's interesting you mentioned this thing that people have to take stock of where you are. It's making me think about the fact that we always start January off with all these goals. And like you say, it's middle of the year. And it's sort of like that time where you in a slack and just taking stock, thinking about the goals and are you on track? It's quite interesting because just if we think about it, it's winter now, and then just after winter, when it's September, then it's that rush of the year again. So it's actually a good time now to start taking stock. So how do you assess, like, do you go back to your goals that you set in January? If we think about the personal goals, how do you approach that?
Yeah, look, I mean, it depends on the human being, the individual, I suppose. And I think for myself, it's just every year you've got goals. At least I would like to believe that people set goals for themselves. And then, we stick to the tasks that we've created for ourselves, because every goal is associated to a project or a task or certain things that you need to do in order to achieve that goal. So the question is, if you're not where you want to be in correlation to the goal that you set for yourself for 2024, then the question is, have you been doing all the tasks that you've decided to do in order to achieve that goal? Are you doing the work, basically? And so, are you doing the work? And I think a lot of people are not necessarily doing what they're supposed to be doing, and they don't realize it, and they go off track into the bushes a little bit, boondu bashing. And then July comes and they go, oh shit, you know what, I've been on the wrong road for half this year. Let me just get back on track. And I think it's not a linear process. Sometimes you wave off the road and sometimes you come back. But as long as you're just moving forward, that's really what's most important. I think the timeline of the goal is not that important. I don't get romantic about the time that the goal should materialize. It's more just like, am I taking a step forward? These are the goals that I've set out for this year. But I don't create unnecessary anxiety by now going, shit, you know what? I might not be able to achieve it, because I don't like forcing things. Like a lot of people brute force their way to success, whatever you want to call success. I'm not a believer in brute force. I'm a believer in just taking the necessary action and doing what you can, and also going with the flow alongside with it. Sometimes there's other road signs that allow you to reassess whether the goal is actually that important to you. Sometimes we set arbitrary goals that's got nothing to do with our fulfillment or happiness. It's just something that our egos have created that we think we might enjoy. So I think this time of the year, I reflect and I go, are all the goals that I've created for myself still applicable? Number one, is it's still something that I feel I want and desire and would bring me fulfillment and happiness and joy. And at the same time, we also need to understand that those things start within. The goal that you set out for yourself is not necessarily going to bring you that fulfillment or joy, because that is something that starts with you and not necessarily the achievements or your success, right? So it's an important time to just ask, like, are you still enjoying the goals that you set out for yourself? Is these things still important to you? Is that the stuff that you still want to achieve? Is the why still aligned for you as a human being? And then the second thing is, if it is still important to you and it is something that you still want to focus on, how far are you off track? How far are you off track in achieving that goal? Because now the timeline is shrinking. You've got 6 months left to achieving that goal, right? So the question is, how far are you off track? And if you're on track, great. If you're off track, then the next step would be to ask yourself why. What has happened? A lot of people would take a victim mentality and they would say, well, it's the economy, it's this, it's that. And they would externalize everything and blame everybody else. And I think the most successful people will go, what could I have done better up until now that could have ensured that I would have been on track? And I think that's what we need to do, is go, how far am I off track? What have I been doing that's obviously not working? What do I need to do? Reassess. Maybe I should reassess the tasks. Maybe I should reassess the strategy. Maybe I should reassess the people. Maybe I should reassess the network. Maybe I should reassess whatever it should be, because obviously it's not working. And then from there, once you've got that information, you start making those changes and you try and get yourself back on track, I suppose.
Jandre, you're giving us work. I'm thinking now, where am I with my goals? It's a good time to reassess it. Guys, if you're watching, let us know in the comments. Let us know if you're watching live. If you're watching the replay, also let us know. So we're talking about re-looking at your goals. But I feel like a lot of the times it's one thing to kind of set the goals, but a lot of the times it's very difficult to actually know what I must do next. And I think for business owners especially, so on the one hand, we can talk about your personal goals. We always have these amazing personal goals, and then we realize at the end of the year we never reached it, and then we just set them again. But if we look at business, and especially for entrepreneurs, I think it's sometimes so hard to know how to set those goals and how to what is the next thing to do. So I can say, yes, I want to grow my business, but how to know exactly what is it that I must do? What is it that I must spend my time on? And I think as a business owner, that is sometimes a very big issue, just to figure out, am I working? We all know that term, am I working in my business or on my business? And I know it's something that you are very, very good at, working on businesses and not in businesses. I do find myself sometimes working in the business because I get so sidetracked or excited about what I'm doing. And then when I sit still and think, what am I spending my time on? Is it the things that is going to move the needle forward? What is it that I must do to grow my business and to actually reach those goals?
So in essence, it's normal for a coach also to be in the business a lot more than anybody else, because the business is dependent on you. So at the end of the day, you need to understand that if you are a coach and a consultant, then no matter how much you want to work on the business, there will always be a huge percentage of you working in the business, because you are the coach that people want to learn from you. So you're going to have to be that person that people learn from. Unfortunately, that comes with the territory. But I think at the end of the day, if we reflect, I think for myself, and I made a couple of notes here because I don't want to forget and I don't want to interrupt you, but the bottom line for me is really what goals have you set, and what are you doing to track those goals? I think a lot of people don't track what they need to do. So if you have a goal, then the question is, do you have a strategy that is going to allow you to get to that goal? So the next step is measuring the strategy and its success. And this is what a lot of people don't do. They don't track their KPIs, because that's what a KPI is a key performance indicator that's indicating whether you are moving in the right direction or not. So, for example, if you want to grow your business by 10% or 5%, whatever it is, depending on size and the market, whatever. If you hypothetically decided, I want to grow my business by 10% every single month, or I want to grow by 20,000 Rand in revenue every single month, or 50,000 Rand in revenue every single month, then the question is, are you tracking that weekly? Are you tracking that monthly to see if that is actually happening? Right? So, for example, we have, one of our own stores, and the goal was to get to 1 million in 12 months. And we actually achieved that goal. So if we look back at where we started in June, we were on 10,000 Rand. And this year, I think we did, this year, actually, we're doing June this month, we're going to be doing 2 million. So the reality is for that exact business. But our goal was 1 million. So we're grateful that we've doubled it. But at the end of the day, we've tracked every single month and the progress that we've made. So we started with 10,000. We did 10,000 in revenue. And we were like, okay, cool. So we made 10,000. How do we get to 100,000? So we then came up with a strategy. We set the KPIs. The KPIs in terms of the e-commerce business would be cost per acquisition, ROAS, and hypothetically, those are the two things. Those are actually the two things, but it could be something different to other people. So for us, it was our cost per acquisition needs to be at around this price, and our ROAS should be around that price, or around that number. And if we have our cost per acquisition and our ROAS on that level, then there's a good chance we can now spend more money and make more money. And that's literally the two main KPIs. There's now sub KPIs. So you've got your core metrics, and then you've got your supporting metrics. And the supporting metrics tell you why the core metrics are not what they need to be. And the core metrics tells you why the business is not where it needs to be. So it's layers of data. So imagine an onion and all the different layers. And at the top of the onion, you've got success. And a layer under it, you've got 1 million in revenue. And a layer under it, you've got your monthly KPIs or monthly revenues that you need to hit to get to that million. And then it's a matter of breaking it down into your core KPIs and subcategory KPIs, because everything starts to tell a story if you look at it holistically. And I think a lot of people don't really think about it like that. They just go, we need to do 1 million in sales. And when they don't, they just give up. And it's like, this is too hard. But they don't really track the strategy. So they have a strategy, but they don't really track the strategy, and they don't measure what they've tracked. Because you first have to track, meaning you have to put the data in, or the data has to be present. And then you have to measure the data to go, is the data telling me a story? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And what should the strategy now be moving forward in order to move us closer to the goal? Because the strategy that we had is not working the way we want to, so we have to adjust it. We have to tweak something. And I think most people just don't do that. It's just getting very granular with your business. And a lot of people just look at revenue as an indicator of success for the business. And they go, my revenue is not where I want to be, so therefore life is too hard and I'm going to give up. And you need to ask yourself, what metrics are indicating whether the strategy is working or not? Usually those metrics are determined before you start the strategy. So if you're going to say, we want to grow this business to 100K, then we're going to, per month, then we're going to say, cool, well, if we spend 10,000 Rand on ads or 20,000 Rand on ads, we need a 5x ROAS. If we have a 5x ROAS on a 20,000 Rand budget, 20 times 5 is 100,000 Rand. So now if you're running your ads with a 20,000 Rand budget and you have a 4x ROAS, you can tell we're only going to get to 80K. So what else can we do to improve the ROAS? We need to look at the Facebook algorithm. We need to look at improving our creators. We need to look at this so that we can up the ROAS, because if we're going to up the ROAS to the 5 that we planned, then we're going to hit 100K. And I think it's actually not that complicated. It's just that nobody takes the time or the energy to actually get granular with their businesses and measuring the core KPIs that will indicate whether the strategy is working. And if the strategy is working, you keep doing what you're doing. If the strategy is not working, you look at the data to help you tell a story to what's wrong, And then you come up with an idea on how to fix it. And then you set new KPIs to identify whether that new strategy is working or not. And it's just something most people don't do.
So I see next level mama, Strand Helderberg. Lovely to have you here. Let us know what business you're in. I see we've got quite a few people from our community joining. Guys, comment below if you're watching. It feels like I am getting a personal business coaching session from Jandre today. We actually want to, I want to talk more about, profit and how do you measure profit. But for you guys who are watching, let us know what business you are in, what questions you have. So I want to go back to the example that you just gave. So I take it that is for a e-commerce store. And you went, you grew the business from 10,000 Rand to 2 million Rand in 1 year. Is it 1 year?
Yeah, 2 million Rand in revenue per month. Yeah.
And you basically just broke down that steps. And like you say, it is exactly that, like measuring it, where I think a lot of people.
It's true. Sorry to interrupt you. It's exactly that. Like we started with a 5,000 Rand budget and we did 10,000 Rand in sales. So if we work it out, 5,000 Rand, 10,000 Rand in sales is a 2x rise because 10 divided by 5 is 2. So we had a 2x rise. So we're like, guys, we can't grow this business with a 2x rise because that's not going to be profitable. So we ideally need a 5x rise. So we're like, okay, cool. If we're going to spend 10K next month, then a 5x rise should give us 50K. And that's what we did. We spent 10K, we had a 5x rise, and that led to 50,000 Rand. So we said to ourselves, okay, cool. Well, if we can continue with that ROAS, if we spend 20,000, then we're going to get the 5x ROAS. 20 times 5 is 100,000 Rand a month. So we got to 100,000. And we at a point now where we're spending 350,000 Rand. We might be spending 400,000 Rand this month on marketing to get to 2 million.
Oh,
so like understanding that obviously with an e-commerce business, the more you spend on marketing, the more, with any business really, I suppose, the more you spend on marketing, the more you have the opportunity to grow. But that's really as simple as that. And I mean, I've got the stats here too. I mean, a lot of people might say I'm speaking, BS. So I'll just go in quickly. Yeah.
No, that's so interesting because I know a lot of people have e-commerce businesses. So I also watched that one video where you and Bia spoke about making such a small difference as I think it was about sending 2 or 3 emails to people who left their stuff in the cart and how much that increased. I think that was what your message was about. Because normally with e-commerce store, everyone's got that, like, okay, they leave the item in cart and you send one email out. And I think you guys spoke and said, well, send 2 or 3, and how that increased.
Yeah. So that touches on Nanette's comment. She says it sounds so easy. That's the simplified version of it. But the reality is there are months where we didn't have a 5x rise, where we had a 3x rise. So there was literally a month where we were spending 100K on marketing and we only had a 2 or 3x rise. So we were like, okay, shit, this is a problem. Like this 3x rise is not going to get us to where we need to be. So we needed to organize a photo shoot. We need to create new content. We need to get videos. We need to pay influencers to do some content for us. But we wouldn't have been able to come up with the new content strategy so that we can run new ads if we didn't measure the ROAS. So the point is that it's not that the strategy sounds that every strategy is going to sound easy on a top level, right? So Nanette, it's obviously not that easy. Here's the key metrics that you're tracking in your business will tell you what's wrong. And if you respond to what's wrong with a new idea, and if you track that accordingly, then you know that you're moving in the right direction. And you're winning by eliminating what's not working. That's all. So that's literally as simple as that. It's like winning is just an elimination of things that's not working. So it's like, this is not working. Stop doing that. Let's try that. That's also not working. Let's stop doing that. Let's try that. And you just eliminate up into a point where you go, this works. And then you keep doing that. And then you do that with the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And at some point, as you start to granularly pay attention to your business over a year, you start to actually understand what's working and what's not. And then it becomes easier to grow the business because now you know if we do this, we're going to get that result. If we do that, we're going to get that result. And I think a lot of people don't track the metrics within their businesses. Therefore, they don't know what's wrong. They just look at revenue and they see their bank accounts decreasing. And they go, I don't know what else to do.
Oh, Nanette is saying you're an excellent teacher, Jandre, but let's not leave it there, Nanette. So Nanette has a leather shop. So she also has an e-commerce. So she's got a store, a physical store in Clarence, and then she also has an online store. So Nanette, maybe you want to ask Jandre a question, because she also started running ads. And yeah, obviously, I think if she could only have the online store, maybe for future, that would be great. So she's got, it's actually called Oak Leather is her business, and they make beautiful handbags, and they make actually rifle bags for hunters. So Nanette, if you've got a question, please ask, but let's quickly see all the other comments. We've got Yonita saying from Jeffreys Bay, Eastern Cape. So she's got a marketing consulting company. Just love marketing. Yes, we do. Then Jan is saying, More from Bloemfontein. I'm going to Bloem on the 1st of July. I'm actually going for a day. So, Jan, I'm not sure if you are part of my community, but I'm actually going to do a session with everyone there in the afternoon. So you can, Emma is saying traveling company, group tours to Europe, Joburg and Gauteng. Okay, so we spoke about the e-commerce. So Nanette's got an e-commerce store, and then Anthea also have e-commerce, and she's saying winning by losing. So Anthea, if you've got a question for Jandre, please ask it. So that is e-commerce, and I think e-commerce is all about really getting your ads right, having your website right, doing all those little things to increase the sales. But then if we look at things like a traveling company, that is more lead generation. So the traveling, the marketing consulting, there's another e-commerce. So maybe we can talk a little bit about lead generation. And Emma, if you have something that you're struggling with in your company, maybe wanting to know how to generate more leads or how to convert more leads, then please post that question. So lead generation, I love lead generation. I think there's also a lot of people don't understand lead generation. They don't understand that. I think a big thing with lead generation is the fact that you need to constantly get in new leads so that they can turn into customers later. We sometimes see leads can I actually spoke to another guy the other day. They in the health and wellness space, and there as well, because they're in alternative health, and there as well, it's about really planting that seed. For me, lead generation is a lot about you have to plant that seed, and then you have to nurture it, and all of those things. Do you have it in place to actually, from when someone hears about you or when they have the idea, to keep being up to date? And obviously this is what we do with our organic social media, but also with the paid ads. We get a lot of leads through Facebook ads, but the lead conversion, getting people to commit to a tour, is so difficult. So Jandre, maybe you can share something about that.
Yeah, look, I think lead generation, like with any other business, it all boils down to metrics that you're tracking. So if we start on a top level, if we look at the example of an e-commerce business, you look at your cost per acquisition, you look at your conversion rate, you look at your ROAS, you look at all these metrics. These metrics indicate whether you are moving in the right direction and whether you have a good chance of getting your money back. Now, on a lead generation space, I mean, we started a cleaning company. We bought into a cleaning company now recently. Started it from scratch as well. And in our third month, we did 120,000 Rand. And we're growing that company. That company is more difficult to grow than an e-commerce business because you need new teams, you need new cars and new equipment. So it's a bit more cost intensive to scale that compared to, well, more resource intensive to scale that compared to an e-commerce business. But in essence, we do the same thing. We send out quotes. We get, we have people have to respond to those quotes. They have to tell us if they're keen. A travel company is a bit more complicated because you're dealing with so many psychological stuff. You're dealing with, things like timing of the year. You're dealing with there's a bunch of competition in the market as well. Like there's so many different. I would say like it's just an extremely competitive market. Margins are low, but there's so many psychological reasons why people might not want to go with you and rather someone else, or someone might change their mind, or someone might not be able to. They wanted to go and then something happened, within the time frame, like a family member got sick or something, SARS came and then charged them tax that they didn't plan for, and now they have to spend 200,000 rand on tax, and now they can't afford the trip anymore. There's so many things that can get in the way of them obviously proceeding with the holiday or the trip or the whatever it may be. But I think if we forget about all those things, the question I usually ask myself is, go, cool, what's the cost per lead? What is that costing us? So if we spend 10,000 rand and it's costing us hypothetically 500 rand a lead, then essentially we're getting 20 leads, right? So then the question is, out of those 20 leads, what are we doing to qualify them? Like, are those leads high quality or low quality? So what percentage is high quality? What percentage is low quality? If they are low quality, why? Is it because of the targeting? Is it because of the messaging? Is it because of the creative? Is it because, is there something that you can do to improve the quality of your leads? That's really what it boils down to. So if you have, 30% high quality, 70% low quality leads, well, in our country, I'd say that's normal. Wouldn't stress about it. It's a numbers game. That's what a lot of local businesses don't understand. It's like generating leads is 100% a numbers game. And by example, I can say that we're a marketing agency. We charge, X amount of money per month. It's not cheap, obviously, for anybody to hire an agency. So we generate 150 leads a month. 90 people jump on a call and we only sign 9 clients, for example, hypothetically, right? That's roughly an accurate assumption to make within our business. So that's only 10% of the leads that convert. So the question is, a lot of people, what they do is they go, I have 20 leads, but none of them converted. Okay, well, what have you done to measure and track what percentage is high and low quality? Have you figured out how to improve the quality of those leads? Number one. Number two, if you think most people are good quality and they're still not converting, then the question becomes, how does your sales process look like? How are you formulating the quotes? What's the speed to lead? Are you phoning them immediately? Are you not? And you need to track all these things. Within our company, we literally track show up rates to calls. So we have, if someone becomes a lead, we have automations that push them for a call. We have someone phone them. We track how long it takes someone to get to that lead as well, because if it's going to take longer than a day, then we most likely have lost that individual, because they've probably inquired with 10 other agencies as well. Because what people do is they go into Google, they go marketing agency, same with you. They go trips to Bali, trips to Seychelles. So they're going to inquire with 10 different people. So if you're not speaking to those people immediately, then they're most likely going to go with the next person who is responding in an efficient manner. So now the next question is, if you are responding on time, what are you saying? What are you doing to convince them that you're different to everybody else? Because this is also the thing with us in our space. We're a very saturated market. There's a bunch of marketing agencies out there. But the question is, what do we do differently? That is, when I have a conversation with someone, if I send an email to someone, is there psychological elements that you can bring into play that's going to make someone feel like you are different? Because people want exceptional service. People want exceptional value. So is there something that you doing that's going to make them feel like you are the better choice? And what most people do is they give a person apples, and the next company gives apples, and the next company gives apples, and everybody just gives apples, and they go, well, I'll take this apple because it looks a bit greener. But what I'm trying to do is, like, we're trying to sell oranges while everybody else is selling apples, because we know oranges are tasty and most people prefer that versus an apple. Hypothetical, right? So the question is there something that you can do that's going to make you stand out, that's going to make you more attractive, that's going to build a relationship, that's going to trigger them psychologically to feel like you are the right company? And if you don't have those things in place, the best way to go about it is to ask yourself, what are the biggest pain points for these people when it comes to traveling? And is there a way that you can offer them solutions to those pain points that competitors are not offering? Is there some form of insurance that you can offer on that they don't have to pay, that other people need to pay? Is there something that you can do? Anything that competitors are not doing that's not going to cost you an arm and a leg, but that can help you in order to convert that lead into an actual customer. And then the next question is, what's the conversion on your leads? So if you have 20 leads and one person converts, that is that's a 5% conversion rate at the end of the day. So now if you know you have a 5% conversion rate, then all you do is you put more money into your budget. And now if you have 100 leads at a 5% conversion rate, as opposed to one customer, you're going to have 5. And if you have 200 leads, as opposed to 5 customers, you're going to have 10. So that's how you figure out your own numbers. I think, and you measure each stage of the process. So what are the processes in your business? What are the stages? Stage 1, get a lead. What's the second stage? Communicating with that lead. How does that look like? Next stage, quoting the lead. Next stage, getting an answer from the lead. And you break these into individual stages, and then you start to optimize every single stage in order to allow the whole strategy to work better.
So what I want to also just add to that, I love how you get so scientific about the numbers and all the actions, and I think a lot of people like that. I think you do get a lot of business owners that's pretty good with that. But the point is, if you want to make money in your business, these things that you are saying, the KPIs, tracking these things are so freaking important. But the part that I want to add is when it comes for me to lead generation, I love the fact that marketing is as old as the mountains. I mean, marketing has existed from the first person on earth, basically. And it's really just about, getting people to know about you or to know about the opportunity. Okay, actually what I want to say. So it's been there, but how do we apply it today? So the one thing is, yes, we run Facebook ads, but what else can we do? We can do live sessions like this. Like, why don't you maybe start doing lives weekly on interesting places to go and visit, and why you should go and visit it, or maybe do events. What I love doing is, why I talk about the traditional marketing is, what did people do before social media? They would have expos and they would have shows, and people can go and visit this expo. The purpose of that is to give someone the opportunity to kind of test drive this either product, or if it's a service, to get to know this person better. So what works very well is if you do things like this. Like if you do, I love doing events. I haven't done that many lately. And I think we should really, I've got a lot of people in my community that say, come to Pretoria. So maybe we should do like a marketing event there. So this is exactly it. Like if you do, live webinars, and you tell people, you can maybe say, who wants to go to Europe? Let me tell you about all the interesting things. It's all about, planting those seeds, and then people see it on the ads again. So I just, on the lead generation, I spoke to another guy who's in this wellness space. So one of the things I told him is, you got to look at traditional marketing and integrate that with social media marketing. So in their case, their market is a little bit older, but it's also people that use a little bit alternative medicine. And so for them as well to do like a open day, and invite people to learn more about it. And then you complement that with paid ads, because now people see you in person. And especially if your market is a little bit older, it's very important to have that personal touch, So yeah, I'm very passionate about lead generation, and how to integrate that with social media. But I think there were so many valuable tips. And what I really learned from Jandre is what you said earlier about get the lead, follow up the lead. It's so simple. I mean, who wouldn't do that? But people don't do that. You get leads, you let that lead is just hanging there, or you follow that lead up 5 days later, because maybe you don't have automated systems. So in the beginning, if you don't have systems in place, it is harder. You have to do it manually. But when you do it manually, you can at least just do it. You learn so much from doing it. Get that person who's asking a question, because Facebook it's great, but it's still not, maybe they've got a question. Maybe they just want to know something, It's so great to have one-on-one calls. And I think it's something, Jandre, that we implemented. For one of your advice is to have one-on-one calls with people, And the thing for me is I felt overwhelmed because I don't want to handle everything. And then, you know what? I did it myself to learn, but now I have someone doing it for me. Because that's also the thing, like what you always say, you don't have to do everything yourself. It's good to do it so that you can learn and know what is required. And then you get someone to do it. But let me quickly go back to the comments. So Jackie is saying she's got a clothing store in Joburg. Okay. Oh, Anthea is saying, I'm driving. How do I talk? Oh, Anthea, you can't talk. You can just type. So maybe if you stop. Nadia, I love Nadia's work. So she says, hi there, Nadia. She's a brand designer. Yeah, guys, if you don't follow her, go and follow her, Nadia. She is amazing with brands and gives advice. So, what I really like about Nadia's business is she's one of the few South Africans who figured out how to have a business. Like she says, she's in Alberton, but she's got global customers. So, that's something I really admire about her business. She's brilliant with that, which means she can charge more for the same time and the same service, because obviously if you've got global customers, you can actually get more money from them. Okay, we spoke about that. Okay, so Nanette is saying, I came into the call when you said, the more you spend, the more money you'll make. Do you really think so? Okay, so I'm going to give it over to you, Jandre, but Nanette, I actually just told that to one of the other girls that's also in the training. But Jandre is going to explain to you, obviously, the things has to be in place. But I literally told her because her return on ad spend is like 20. So it's if you know your numbers, obviously. So that would be the first phase. And I'm going to let Jandre do that. But what we mean by that is for e-commerce, if you have these things, and obviously he's the expert, but yes, I literally told her, like, where can you put in 2,000 Rand and get 50,000 Rand for that? Where do you get that? And I told her it's like a slot machine. The more you put in, the more you get out. So let's just hang on that one. And then Nanette's got a very nice question for you as well, Jandre. So she says, do you have other businesses and have you ever failed before? So maybe you can quickly answer Nanette's questions there. Oh, your sound, I think it's, is it me? Okay, there we go.
Better? There we go.
That's better. Yes.
So to answer the question, when it comes to spending money, two things are going to happen when you spend more money. You're either going to lose more money or you're going to make more money. I think it's like that's literally a simple way of looking at it. It's like if you're going to spend more money, the two ultimate outcomes is you're either going to lose a lot more money or you're going to make a lot more money. That's the reality. I'm not here to sugarcoat it for you, because a person that tells you if you spend more money you're going to make more money is lying to you, because that's not how it works. However, the reality is you want to take calculated risk within your business. Okay, so it's like, if I do spend more money, what risk mitigation is in place so that I can ensure that there's a higher return on that money? Simple as that. So if you have zero risk mitigation in place, then you're most likely going to lose all your money. If someone comes along and says, hey, if you give me R1 million, I'm going to give you 5. I'm like, are you going to do that? Some people would say, yes, that makes sense. Well, my question is, who is this guy? How can he guarantee that he's going to give me 5 million back? So most people will be like, okay, that makes sense. That's amazing. Let's do it. That's why they get scammed by Nigerian princes who need them to pay an admin fee of 1,000 Rand so that they can release funds to the lucky lottery winner. You know, it's people who are just a little bit naive and don't really understand how risk mitigation works. So everything has got risk attached to it. So you walking across the street has got risk attached to it. You spending money on your business has got risk attached to it. Everything you do in life has got some form of risk. The question is, how can you reduce that risk for yourself? So when you're going to spend money, what can you do to reduce the risk of losing the money? Okay. And that's where KPIs come in, key performance indicators. So for example, if you're spending, like I said earlier, 10,000 Rand a month and you have a 5x ROAS, which is a return on advertising spend, which means for every 1 Rand you spend, you get 5 Rand back in sales, then you're going to make 50,000 Rand. So now the thing is, right, if I spend 20K, then essentially I can hypothetically make 100K as long as my ROAS remains 5. If my ROAS is not going to be 5, I'm not going to get 100K back. So the question is, how can you reduce your risk of remaining? How can you increase your probability of the ROAS remaining the same and decrease the risk of the ROAS declining? That's how you would approach an e-commerce business, right? So if you're going to spend that 20 grand, we realized our ROAS went down. And then what happened was we asked ourselves, oh shit, it's gone down from 5 to 3. So the question is now, how do we get it back to 5? So we realized by looking at all the KPIs that Facebook gives you, an enormous amount of metrics that you can track. We obviously handpick a few that we think is most important. Those metrics tell you a story. The story told us that people are seeing the same ads all the time and they're getting tired of it. So we went with the new photo shoot. We got influencers. We created new creatives. And then essentially the ROAS went back up again, which was great. So to answer the question, in a nutshell, the more you spend, the more you're going to lose or the more you're going to make. But it is what you do to mitigate the risk of losing the money. And those risks usually those risks can be calculated. It's all about taking calculated risks. I'm a very risk-averse human being. So I reduce the risk by making sure that I have ideas on how to control the variables. And the variables, for example, in an e-commerce business is ROAS. Because I've been doing Facebook ads for 10 years and we have an agency, we can essentially control the ROAS quite well. Most people can't. So I know if I'm going to put 10 grand or 20 grand in, there's a good chance I'm going to get money back because we're controlling the variable. So I hope that answers the question. Sorry if I went on a little bit too long in that regard. But then the other question was, do you have other businesses? So under V8 Capital, we have 5 companies, excluding V8 Media, 4 or 5, not fifth one busy with. So we have 4 companies, yes, but I've had many other businesses in my life and most of them failed. And I fail every single day. Every single day I fail at something.
Jandre, sorry, I'm gonna give over to you, but it's so interesting that you say this because all the businesses that you get involved with is successful. So tell us about the failures, please do. I can't believe you say you had businesses that failed.
No, man. Like I've had many businesses that failed in some. It depends on what you see as failure, but I think from my side, there's many businesses I've closed down. So the first business was an online business back when I was 22 years old. I ran Facebook ads to get traffic to the site. I monetized that traffic with advertising from sports nutrition brands. And I didn't focus on my KPIs. I didn't have KPIs to track at that time. So the only thing I did was I just tracked how many people came to my site on a monthly basis. That's the only thing I tracked. But what I didn't track was cash flow. What I didn't track was profit margins. What I didn't track was outstanding debt. What I didn't track was essentially tax and VAT. So what happened was that business I ran into the ground because I didn't plan for all of those things. So essentially we were doing about 150K a month, was like 23 years old. And I thought all the money that comes into my bank account, I can use to grow the business. Then I realized, no, it doesn't work like that, the hard way. And then I learned a couple of lessons. So that business kind of failed. I did sell it to somebody, but it wasn't because it was a massive success. It's because it had value for someone else in that regard. The second business was a clothing company. We had a clothing company. So that did really well, started to do well. Within the second month, we did like 40, 50, 80K. And then that failed because we couldn't find new suppliers. We couldn't innovate on designs. My partner wanted to move away to Israel because we couldn't cover his salary quick enough. So that failed. And then we had to close down that business. We sold it for like 80,000 Rand. They just bought the stock from us, whatever. So we got our money back at least. Then, within V8, we've had many initiatives that failed or that closed down. It just didn't work. So the reality is we fail all the time, but every single time you fail, you learn something and you go, oh shit, next time if I have a partner, I need to be a little bit more, I have to apply more foresight and ask myself, hey dude, are you planning on moving? Because if you move and you are the head of operations, then we're going to have a shit show. So it taught me about term sheets and agreements, shareholder agreements, and all of these things that you have to have in place when it comes to running a business with someone else. So every lesson is just, every failure is just a huge lesson if you're open to seeing it that way. And then it gives you, again, you're winning by elimination, right? You're paying these lessons, these fees, and by eliminating those things, you start to understand what's working, and then you apply it to the next business, and there's a higher calculated risk of you making a success with that business. Yeah, so that's my story. Many businesses fail, and again, like, I fail on a daily basis because there is a conversation that you know, there's maybe a business that you wanted to buy into. Magriet will know. We had a conversation about us partnering, and she said no. She rejected me to my face. No, I'm joking. So it's a matter of looking at it like I fail often in opportunities, but I don't see it as failures. I see it as almost like road signals pointing you in the right direction, because all of those, there's lessons on how to things I've learned is how to negotiate better. Things I've learned is how to position offers better, how to make things more attractive to other people, and all of these things. So from my side, we all fail on a daily basis, but it's literally a matter of how quickly you can learn from those failures that's going to make you better. And it sounds like a bumper sticker, but it's so true.
But I mean, what we see actually is that most of the times we compare our own situation. We compare our chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. I mean, it's so interesting that we went back now to where you started, because a lot of people see a successful person, successful business, and think, oh, well, he's more successful than me. But it's not about that. It's about the failures that you went through that was actually the stepping stones. And most importantly, not getting stuck there. And I think that's what I really love about this conversation, is the fact that maybe we should change the way or the story we tell ourselves around failure and what failure means. So this is what I'm getting from it. So failure doesn't mean you're a failure. Failure is just, okay, that was not the right way of doing it, so next time, no. And I think that's great. Just having a little different view of what failure is. Guys, there's only 7 minutes left, and I see there's so many comments. This is great. So Kuti is saying, we're based in Pretoria, drilling company. We started our water drilling business a year ago. Through advertising on Facebook, we generate 1,012 quotes to the number, and we secured 200 jobs to date. We wouldn't
That's
have
about
made
18% conversion rate. So that's the thing. Like, just sorry to interrupt you, but that's what Katie's saying. It's like she's got an 18% conversion rate on the quotes that she's sending. So she gets basically 1 out of 5 quotes gets approved.
Wow.
And that's really what we need to understand, guys. It's like, what Katie can do now is knowing that she's got a 20% conversion rate, she's doing something right. Okay, that's a really good conversion rate, in my opinion, especially for the type of business that she is, because people probably get quotes from many other people too. She is probably Kuti, I think it's him. He or they might be in the luxury of doing this early on. I mean, there's been drilling companies for years, but it's going to get more competitive as the water shortages in South Africa obviously increase. So if I was Kuti, I would already be asking myself, how do I improve my business to ensure that 5 years from now I'm still competitive in the market? And this is the thing. Like, people are sometimes don't think about the next 4 to 5 years. I'm Kuti, maybe you are already, but for those watching and listening, it's a matter of looking at it. If things are going well now, the question is, how do you secure that success 5 years from now? And knowing the industry and knowing the market, you can already see where things are going to go. More and more drilling companies are going to pop up, the same way solar did. Solar companies didn't exist 10 years ago. 5 years ago, there was only a few. Now there's solar companies all over the place. So every single solar company is now bleeding money because they have all the stock that they've paid for, but they're struggling to get leads. The cost per lead has gone up, the cost per acquisition has gone up, and the only people who are really making a lot of money are really creative solar companies who are selling to consumers, and the commercial guys who have really good networks and deals. So it's understanding that you need to understand your business better than you understand yourself. And I think a lot of people don't have that ability to really dissect their own market and their own ability to run the business as well. So the bottom line, just what I wanted to share there, is that now that you know that if you've got a 20% conversion rate, if you spend more money and you get 2,000 quotes, you can convert 400 new jobs. But then the question is, do you have the team and the manpower and the equipment to obviously service those things? Because that's what's happening with us with the cleaning company that we started 4 months ago, is that we did 30,000 first month, 60,000, 120,000, but then we were stuck at 2 teams. Now, what we're realizing, if we want to get to 250,000, if we wanted to double the business, then we need 2 more teams, 2 more vehicles, 4 pieces of equipment. And we're also going to need a coordinator, like an internal coordinator, full-time coordinator, admin person. And now we need to ask ourselves, if we hire those people, can we guarantee or can we reduce the risk of failure and increase the odds of success by duplicating the strategies that we've been following from a marketing perspective? And that's why it's more difficult to scale a local business than an e-commerce business, because an e-commerce business, the variables are a little bit less to control from scaling perspective, but there's more variables to control from a marketing perspective, unfortunately, which makes it difficult to acquire customers.
So Kweti is just saying, good point. Our plan is to import new rigs as soon as possible. We can also sell the machines, but we first want to get more teams. But well done, Kweti. I think just on the start of your ability to have an 18% conversion rate, and now maybe back engineering that and say, but how can I go from an 18% to maybe 24% or a 25%?
Ask Kweti if Kweti wants an investor.
Kweti, do you want to invest? We've got someone online for you. Okay, so Cecilia is saying, I have a doggy daycare and hotel in Randburg. Oh, that's amazing. I love animals and animal people. We service the surrounding areas. How do we advertise for only our surrounding areas? So it is possible to, if you do the Facebook ads, to actually set your surrounding areas. But being in the business that you are, do you realize that that is the one thing that people love the most on social media is babies and puppies and dogs? So you have a very, very big opportunity of growing your business without spending a lot of money on Facebook ads. So Facebook ads are great because you can control the area, but you can actually do so much with your organic social media because you have doggies and people love watching dogs. So that is definitely one way. And then Cecilia, I just want to tell you something else. I don't know if you are on TikTok yet, but if not, just go on TikTok as well. And whatever you do on Facebook and Instagram, just go and put it on TikTok. You'll be surprised. Okay, so let's quickly see. Oh, I just want to see. Okay, so quickly going to go through these. So Anthea is saying it's so scary for small business to just increase the spend. When you get over that hill that you speak about, okay, when do you get over that hill to speak about in marketing? And how do we know the ultimate ROAS for each? Okay, so this is quite a good point. I just want to see. Okay, so she's also asking about your cost. Okay, so maybe we should end off with Anthea's question. So maybe you can just touch on, so she's got a beautiful business. I mean, Anthea's got an amazing business. It's called Boost Gymwear. And
I know Boost. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe, yeah. So, and Anthea is an amazing businesswoman. So, but I know because we've spoken about this, about the ROAS. So maybe you can share something that will help.
Yeah, look, I think it's a very simple answer, really. It's understanding your business economics, right? The unit economics of the business. So the question is, if Anthea, I'm assuming you're the owner. So the question is, what is your average COGS? You know, what is your average cost of good? So we're literally launching a new e-commerce business hopefully in the next 2 months. And I was doing a business modeling exercise yesterday. So our average cost of good, if I have to look at all the different products available that people might be able to buy in the store, and I do a median exercise, then our cost of good was 131 Rand, okay, for the products that we want to buy. That's the cost of the product that we're buying it at, right? So the next thing is, what is your average transaction fee? So my average transaction fee is 3% on PayFast if you start as a new business. So if, let's keep that in mind for a second. What is the actual average retail price of the products? So the average retail price of the products that we're basically selling is $3.99. Okay, so we're going to get $3.99 back every time we sell a product, roughly. and I need to minus 131 from that. That's going to give me my gross profit. Then I need to minus 3% of the retail price. So at $400, that's going to be 18 Rand roughly. So my transaction fee is 18 bucks. Then after that, we probably, if we had to include shipping costs or whatever, we will most likely charge for shipping, but I like to work in free shipping in my modeling because that makes the business more profitable and allows you to innovate on new ideas. So minus 90 bucks. And then we're going to minus, there's something else that I'm missing here. Shipping, transaction, cost of goods. Oh, the cost of acquisition. So I know that in that industry, the average cost of acquiring a customer is 150 bucks. It probably can be 100. It actually should be 100.
That's interesting. So, Anthea, did you hear that? So the cost.
Yeah, I'll run through this. I'll run through this again. Don't stress.
Yeah.
So this is how we get to the ROAS part and the profit part, right? So we're looking at, we make 399 Rand every time someone sells. If I minus 131, minus 150, minus 90, minus 18, then I don't have the sheet in front of me, but I think it was hypothetically another 160 bucks profit left. Now that worked out at roughly about a 40% margin after all my expenses. Okay, so I know that if I then spend 100 bucks or 150 bucks to acquire the customer, and I sell the product for 399, then my ROAS is going to roughly hypothetically be, I think it's about 3.5. And I know that a 3.5 ROAS will give me a 40% profit. So in essence, what we're looking at here is like my modeling proves that if I run at a 3.5x ROAS, my business is going to be profitable. So now you can scale infinitely. As long as you have a 3.5x ROAS, we can scale to the moon. Because the more money you spend, as long as the ROAS is at 3.5, your business is making profit. Keep in mind, this is without operating expenses, obviously. So this is without the warehouse costs and the salaries and everything else. So this is just a hypothetical exercise at the end of the day. But this is how you start to work out for yourself if your business is actually going to be profitable, and in which point, from a marketing perspective, will it be profitable for you to continue investing more money into products? So you have to just do the business economics, starting with retail price, minus your cost of goods, minus your transaction fees, minus your shipping fees, minus your cost of acquisition, then minus your average operating expense built into the product. And once you understand your operating expenses, you then adjust the retail price to accommodate that. Because if you can't, then you're going to be running at a loss. Most likely, if you don't adjust pricing according to the expenses that you have in your business. And I think what most business e-commerce business owners do wrong is they focus too much on the retail price and trying to make it attractive, and they neglect and they hire people on the back end to help them sell the product, and then the cost of the business, the operational expenses of the business exceeds the actual revenue that they're making back. But not only that, also the profit that they're making back. And that's how these businesses run backwards. Because they don't understand all the business unit economics that allows a business to run profitably.
That is amazing. Anthea, I know you've got... Yes. Okay, I'm so glad. Amazing, because we tend to be greedy and want big ROAS. We know that, Anthea. So this was very, very good insight from Jandre. But we can take it further. I think, Anthea, what you must go and do is all those points that he said, what is the cost of everything? Like, so that you can determine what your profit is. And then we can work on that and we can work it back to make sure. But Anthea does get a better ROAS than 3.5, if I can remember right. She really has an amazing businesswoman. So, guys, thanks so much. It was lovely.
Anthea, if you want to, just reach out to me on Instagram. And if you want to, I don't know what your situation is, whether you're a sole owner or something, but I'm very open to partnerships and opportunities. So in V8 Capital, we're actually looking for businesses to invest in. So like I said, we're actively looking for companies. We actually are about to launch our marketing strategy for V8 Capital over the next week or two. But yeah, if there's anybody interested, then they're welcome to chat to me.
So, guys, thanks so much. Thanks for everyone who joined. For those of you who are watching the replay, please keep on commenting, ask your questions. It was lots of fun. I think we got a lot of insights. For me, one of the key takeaways was the importance of telling yourself a different story of the meaning of failure. Failure is something that is supposed to help us, where we learn from, and it's not something where we need to get stuck. So for everyone who feels like they are in the stuckness, it's time to get out of that. Thanks so much for your time, Jandre. Thanks, guys. And then we will hopefully see you all again next week.
Cheers, guys. All the best. Much love.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.